In this video, we will study about the valence bond theory. This theory is related to the overlapping of atomic orbitals. Due to the overlapping, a bond is formed. Here see, we have these unpaired electrons with opposite spin. When they will overlap, a bond will be formed. We will study this in detail later on. This bond is known as covalent bond. The third point is only half-filled orbitals with opposite spin overlap. Means that we should have half-filled orbitals. They should not be completely filled. They should have one electron in each orbital for the overlapping. Now, overlapping will be less than 50%. Why it will be less than 50%? If the overlapping is more than 50%, the atom will come very close to each other. Due to this much closeness, their nucleus will start repelling each other. As a result, the bond will not be stable. So the overlapping should be less than 50%. Now, the strength of bond depends on the extent of overlapping. And the strength of bond is directly proportional to the bond energy. Means if the strength of bond is greater, the bond energy will be more. And if the bond energy is more, remember that it will have shorter bond length. Bond energy and bond length are inversely related to each other. Now we have two types of overlapping. The one is axial overlapping, also known as head-on overlapping, and the other is parallel or side-wise overlapping. The axial overlapping will result in the formation of sigma bond, and the parallel overlapping will result in the formation of pi bond. Now, let us discuss the examples in which sigma bond is formed. The first example is H2. Here we can see that how many hydrogens are present. There are two hydrogens. So first we will write one hydrogen and we will write its electronic configuration, that is 1s1. Then we will write the other hydrogen and we will write its electronic configuration, that is 1s1 as well. Here we have drawn only the one electron, and here we also have only one electron. We will draw one electron over here but with opposite spin, because for the overlapping we need half-filled orbitals with opposite spin of electron. We can also write it in this way, that we have one hydrogen and the other hydrogen, it is having one unpaired electron and it is having the other unpaired electron with the opposite spin. Now they both will overlap. When they both will overlap, a bond will be formed between them due to this overlapping, and the bond here is known as sigma bond. As we know that the electron was present in 1s, so we can say that the bond is formed between 1s. So we have wrote here in this way and we have called it as sigma bond. Now the other example that I am going to discuss with you is of HF. We will write first the electronic configuration of hydrogen and then the electronic configuration of fluorine. It is 1s1 and it is 1s2, 2s2, 2p5. If you don't know how to write the electronic configuration, then watch my previous video to understand it. Here we have only one electron. Now we will draw the electrons for fluorine in their atomic orbitals. We will not draw the electrons for the ground state. These electrons in the 1s2 are the ground state electrons. We will not draw it. First I have drawn the electrons for the 2s. Okay. Here how many electrons were present? 2 electrons. So here 2 electrons are present. Now the second was 2p5. We know that we have 3p orbitals, 2px, 2py and 2pz. Now how we will do this filling? Let's see over here. First of all, we have 5 electrons in the p. First we will write one electron, then the other, then third. After giving each orbital one electron, then we will give them the other. Now how many electrons we have filled? 1, 2, 3 and 4. So we will draw another electron over here. It is only one half-filled electron, and in a hydrogen we are having one half-filled electron. So here what we will do, that we will draw this half-filled in the opposite spin, because for the overlapping we should have electrons in the opposite spin. The shape for the s orbital is spherical. The shape for the p orbital is dumbbell shaped. So here we have one electron in the S and one electron that is half filled in the P. So we will draw the S spherical and the P as dumbbell shaped. We will draw the half filled electrons that will overlap. Now when we will draw the bond, it will be HF. So this bond over here is sigma bond. Remember one thing, that the first bond that is formed will always be sigma bond. When we will draw the other bond in other examples, the other bond will be the pi bond, but the first bond that is formed will always be sigma bond. Now the other example that I am going to discuss is of BF3. First we will write the electronic configuration for boron and then for fluorine. Let us fill them in their orbitals, but remember that we will not draw the ground state. We will start from 2s2 and then 2p1. Similar will go for the fluorine. We will not draw the 1s2. We will start from 2s2. Have a look over here. We have drawn 2 electrons in the 2s and we were having only 1 electron in 2p. So after drawing the orbitals, I have filled only 1 electron in the 2px. Now for the fluorine, we will start from 2s2, that will be having 2 electrons, and 2p5, which I have already told you how we will fill. We will first fill the single electrons, then we will pair them up, right? Now 2px is having 2 electrons, 2py is having 2 electrons, and 2pz is having only 1 electron. But see how many fluorines we are having. We are having 3 fluorines. So we will write the electronic configuration and the filling in their orbitals for the other 2 fluorines as well. Now here have a look. I have wrote the electronic configuration for the 3 fluorines. How many unpaired electrons we are having? 1, 2 and 3. And how many unpaired electrons we are having in boron? Only 1 unpaired electron. So how we will form the bond between 1 unpaired electron of boron and 3 unpaired electron of fluorine? In this case, what will happen? Excitation will take place. The electron from S will jump in the 2py orbital. After the jumping of the electron from the 2s to the 2py, we will have the excited state of boron in this way. 1 electron in the 2s and 2 unpaired electrons in the 2px and 2py. Now first of all, what we will do, that we will draw them in the opposite spins. Means that we need the opposite spins. These are in this way, and we have written for the fluorine in this way as well. So we will just change the direction of the unpaired electron of fluorine. It is in this way. We will write it in this way, and we will write this one as well in this way, and we will change this one as well. Now we are having 3 unpaired electron of fluorine and 3 unpaired electrons of boron. Now they will overlap. The 1,2s orbital will overlap with the 2p of 1 fluorine. The second unpaired will overlap with the other unpaired electron of fluorine, and the third will overlap with the third unpaired electron of fluorine. We know that all the fluorines are having the unpaired electron in the 2p. It is in 2pz. This one is also in 2pz. We can draw it in any one, in 2px, 2py. It depends on us. Now this one is also in 2pz. So we can write here 2p and 2p. Now let's see the electrons present in the orbitals of fluorine. 1 is present in 2s, means 2s will overlap with the 2p of fluorine. So we can write here 2s. The other 2p will overlap with the other 2p of the fluorine, and this will also overlap with the 2p of fluorine. So here we will write 2p and here also 2p. It means that bond is formed between 2s and 2p. The other bond is formed between 2p and 2p. And the third bond is formed between 2p and 2p. Now which bonds are present? I already told you the first bond that is formed is always sigma bond. So these bonds are the sigma bonds. Now we will study the other type, that is the sidewise overlapping. The first example that I am going to take is of oxygen molecule. How many oxygens are there? 2 oxygen. So we will write the electronic configuration for both the oxygens. Now here what I have done, I have written the electronic configuration of both the oxygens. I have filled the electrons in the 2s and then I will fill in the 2p. First, how we will fill? We will fill 1 electron in each. After filling 1 electron, the remaining electrons will be given to them and the electrons will be in paired form. Now we have filled the electrons for the oxygen. Similar will go for this oxygen. Now here I have already drawn the electrons of opposite spin, because we know that the overlapping takes place between the unpaired electrons of opposite spin. These are the 2 unpaired electrons and these are also the 2 unpaired electrons. This one will be 2pz. Now this one is 2pz. Similar we will draw over here. Now what we have done, that we have overlapped this electron with this electron. Now next what we will do, that now we will overlap with this electron. It means that we have overlapped these 2 electrons and now we will overlap the other 2 electrons. Now see, this overlap resulted in the formation of sigma bond. Now how will these overlap? This one was 2pz, this is 2py, this is also 2py. Now how will they overlap? They will overlap sidewise in this way. Here the sharing of electron is done sidewise and this one is sigma bond and this bond that is formed is pi bond. So when we will write for the oxygen, we will write here the first bond that is formed is sigma bond, and after the formation of sigma bond, the other bond that is formed is pi bond. Now between which orbitals the sigma bond is formed? It is formed between 2p of this oxygen and 2p of this oxygen, and the pi bond is also formed between 2p of this oxygen and the 2p of other oxygen. So we can write here 2p means the bond is formed between 2p, and we can also write here 2p and 2p means here the bond is also formed between 2p and 2p. Now this is the last example that I am going to discuss with you. How many nitrogens are there? 2 nitrogens. So we will write the electronic configuration for both the nitrogens first. Now after writing the electronic configuration, we will write the electrons in their orbitals. In this case only this 2p is participating in the bonding because it has the unpaired electrons. How many electrons we are having? 3. We will start filling from here. 1, 2 and 3. Now we will do the same for this nitrogen. I have distributed the electrons in their orbitals, but remember one thing, that we will not draw the electrons in this direction because then they both will be having the same direction. We will change its direction and we will write these in this way, right? We will not write it in this way because the spin should be opposite, right? They should not be of the same spin. So we are changing the spin. Now they will overlap. This 2px will overlap on this 2px. This 2px electron will overlap on this one and this 2pz will overlap on this one. See, I have drawn similar as I have drawn above, right? This one is going to be the 2pz. These are 2py and this one is 2pz. It means that we are overlapping this electron with the 2py of this electron, and we are overlapping this 2pz with this 2pz. Now we are left with the 2px. Now how we will draw this one? We will draw it over here, right? Its one side will go behind the plane, okay? It will be behind the plane. The similar will go for this one, and this side will be outside the plane. Now similar case will happen over here. that these electrons will overlap in this way. Now here the first bond that was formed is sigma bond and these two bonds are pi bond. Now let us write it. We will write it in this way. Right? The first bond that is formed is sigma bond and the other two bonds are the pi bond. Now in which orbitals they are formed? They are formed all from the 2p. So we can write over here 2p, 2p. They are bonding with each other. The similar will go for the pi bonds that the 2p, 2p will overlap. So, from the valence bond theory, we came to know that how a bond is formed. It is formed by the overlapping of the half-filled atomic orbitals, and there are two types of overlappings, that is axial overlapping and sidewise overlapping. Sigma bond is formed as a result of axial overlapping and pi bond is formed as a result of sidewise overlapping. I hope you all understood the examples. If you understood the topic, then don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe my channel.